Well, hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 414 of Ink in Your Veins. I'm Rachael Herron, and I'm so pleased that you are here with me today as I am talking to the charming and wonderful Renée Hartleib, who was a total delight. You'll be shocked. You'll be shocked. You know, it is true that in the past, I have had a couple or three interviews that were not delights, and they did not make it to air because this is my show. So, I realize that I always say that people are delightful because they are. And that's what I get to do. And I really love that. And Renée goes right into the delightful category easily. Here today, we're going to be talking about channeling the muse for everyone. And we're talking in a spiritual, but not a religious way. We talk about solo writing retreats and why you may want to think about one. Man, those just keep coming up over and over again. Maybe that's a signal for you. I don't know. So that's coming up. And what's going on around here. Short intro. I'm battling a wee little bit of a headache and I don't want to get a migraine. So I'm going to keep this very short, but I do want to share that I shipped off my book. I revised Seven Miracles for the last big time. I will still have to do copy edits and proofs and all that. Again, because again, I had done all this. I had done a developmental edit. I had done a copy edit on this book. So the book was already clean, very, very clean. And then my agent sold it. And then you do have to start that process over again. So I had to do a developmental edit for this editor, but I was right. It was a very small edit. It was awesome. I did have a little bit of terror going into this edit that I had misunderstood. And when I finally got stuck into the manuscript and when I was finally looking at her notes inside the document, which I hadn't done, I had just read her revision letter. I was scared that it would suddenly be a big one and I had underestimated, but I didn't, thankfully. And it was a joy. It was just so fun to revise this book. It's been more than a year since I looked at it and it was delicious. I never do that on purpose. I don't mind starting to revise a book the day after I finish it. But the fact that the chips fell this way and this is how it went was awesome. And I loved being with these characters and they even made me cry twice, a couple of the sister scenes. And that is astonishing because I rarely tear up in books. And even more rarely my own. I could think of maybe 3 times that's happened. So that felt really great. And I shipped it off and she has it. And there's a book ahead of it that she's working on. So I don't even have to worry that it's coming back anytime soon. It's just out. I pushed it off the desk and it is off. So now I am full speed ahead on the Kickstarter. And no, Kickstarter did not verify me. I've been struggling with some banking stuff and Stripe connections. I've been with Stripe since 2018, but we're trying to connect it to Kickstarter and there's some problem in there. So I set up a short link. You can go there. You don't have to because I'm going to keep reminding you. But if you go there to rachaelherron.com/unstuck, you can sign up for me to let you know about the Kickstarter when there is a Kickstarter for you to push a button on. And I said this last week and people came and lovely people signed up. That made me feel so good. Also a little bit embarrassed that there was nothing there for you to look at. But it made me feel so good. So thank you. Please do that if you would like to. I've got a whole bunch of stuff being announced soon. I just realized. And since I switched formats for the show, I have not recorded those interstitial reminders to join my newsletter, etc. But there's some new, interesting, exciting stuff. I can say things like online retreats, maybe an in-person retreat. And if you're not on my email newsletter for writers, please get on it. If little offerings, big offerings, if anything like that is of interest to you, please be on that mailing list. You can go sign up right now, this very second, rachaelherron.com/write, or you can probably look in the show notes here and it's probably there. Click on that. Click on wherever it says join for writers, rachaelherron.com/write. And please get on that mailing list. It means a lot to me. And I do try to tell the people on that list everything I know. Everything I learn, I don't charge for it. I just share it because this is an industry where we have to help each other and we have to do so much learning the hard way. It is really nice to get a helping hand sometimes. So you don't have to learn everything the absolute hardest way possible, which I know is kind of a strong point for a lot of us. So please go join that if you would like to. And that's all I got to say. Thanks for being here. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to talk with you, to be in conversation with you about writing. Even if I can't always hear you immediately, it uh, okay, it's going to be weird to say, but I kind of feel like I can sometimes. Not in a woo woo, I can hear your thoughts way, but I know who you are because I am that person too. Does that make sense? I have been the writer who is writing a ton and is so happy about it. And I've also been the writer who hasn't written for years. So whenever I'm speaking to you here or in my newsletter, wherever it is, I am writing to you because we are very, very similar. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to the show. All right, here we go with Renée. Renée Hartleib is a Canadian author, writer, editor, and writing mentor. She has published short fiction and most recently a nonfiction book entitled Writing Your Way, a 40-day path of self-discovery. She is passionate about aiding and inspiring creatives and offers both online programs and one-on-one support for writers looking for accountability, coaching, or developmental editing. She lives with her partner, their 3 children, 1 cat, and 1 dog and 4 cats in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. And she is currently training to walk Spain's Camino Frances in the spring of 2024. So here we go with Renée, and happy writing, my friends.
Well, I could not be more pleased to welcome you to the show. Would you please share your name and your pronouns with us?
Yes, my name is Renée Hartleib, and my pronouns are she, her.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the show. And you are all the way over there in Halifax. So you are far, far away. I'm
I
guessing it's
am.
very cold right now.
It is. And in fact, we just had a real dump of snow. We had about 70 centimeters in
Oh my God.
Halifax. Yeah, it was intense.
So when a Canadian from Halifax says a real dump of snow, you mean, yeah, you are not joking around. This is not Tahoe. This is the real deal.
It's the real deal. Yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay. That is amazing. I like thinking about that because over here it's like 24 degrees and my office is probably 26.
I know. It looks very sunny
But
there.
it
Beautiful.
really is. It's very warm and sunny today. So, well, welcome to the show. Let's talk about writing. I
Yeah.
would love to know from you about your writing process. What does that look like? When and where and how much? All of that.
Yeah, yeah. So, I am definitely a morning writer. I've been a morning writer, for as long as I've been writing. And when my daughter was young, she used to go to bed at 7:30, and I'd go to bed with her too. And then I'd get up at like 3:30 in the morning, and it was the best time to
Yeah.
write. I got to see, the sunrise, the birds waking up, and it was just so productive. So I don't get up that early anymore.
Good,
And my,
probably.
yeah, and my daughter actually graduated from high school, and she's taken a gap year and she's traveling. She's in New Zealand,
Oh, wow. Where is she in
where
New Zealand?
she's on the South Island right now, doing some. The last I saw on WhatsApp, climbing mountains. So
Oh my God. Well, if she needs a hand anywhere around Wellington, tell her to reach out. I'm
thank
here.
you. Oh,
So,
that's
of
so
course,
nice.
that's so exciting for you as mom.
Yeah, it
Wow.
is. It is exciting. Yeah. So I still am a morning writer. I try to write 5 days a week. I I try to put in 30 minutes to an hour, which gives me 500 to 1,000 words. And in terms of where I write, I feel super lucky. My partner and I built a backyard studio at our
Oh,
house, and it's full of natural light. It's got a big bookshelf all along the back wall, and so it's just an amazing place to write, and I feel super lucky that
now
I
when
get
you
to
say you and your
write
partner
there.
built it, do you share the space now or is it solely yours, but you built it
It
together?
Well, we share it for certain things, but it is my workspace. She has a
Mm.
workspace somewhere else.
Ah, that's
It's
so
not as
that's
nice as mine, sadly.
I keep wanting like a little shed out here that would double as like, sleeping space for a guest. And then I thought I'd claim it for my office, but I honestly have 2 offices. I have this room and the room behind me where my sister's staying right now. And I'm not going to
Um,
win the argument of having a third office. I already
no.
know that. So that one will not be mine. But okay, so what things help you most to write?
hmm Well, I would say, having a sense of routine. And when I say that, I mean that in the morning when I do my writing, I have to do it before I do anything else.
Yeah.
I think I'm not alone in this. A lot of people probably, if it doesn't happen first thing in the morning, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So if I don't do it before, I start the work that pays me more, like my professional writing and my writing mentoring, helping other people write books and or editing, it doesn't happen. So that sense of routine is great and helps me with my writing.
Can I ask you
Um,
specifically how you keep yourself
yeah.
from doing other work? Do you not look at the phone, or do you shut down email before you go to sleep, or how do you do that?
Yeah, I don't look at the phone and I don't look at my email.
There's people despairing right now. Like, I wish you would have said anything else than that. But that is truly what I have had to do too.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have friends that are really surprised when I get back to them from a text that they sent at 10 the night before, and I don't respond until 10 or 11 the next day because I have not looked at my phone virtuously. And then I
Yes.
forget that I
Right.
haven't looked at
Yeah.
my phone. And it
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
is a surprise later, but it's imperative for me. If I get in the loop of
I
phone,
know.
email, WhatsApp, text, Marco Polo's,
Hmm.
I'm doomed. I'm doomed.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a great
Yeah.
thing that helps you to write. What is the
Yeah.
most exciting thing that you've ever realized about your writing process?
I think that it is that I am not alone when I'm writing. And I think I
Hmm.
might be talking to a kindred spirit when I say this, because I've listened to enough of
Yeah.
your interviews to know that I think you're a spiritual person as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I really discovered this when I was working on my book, Writing Your Way. I felt I can only describe it as accompanied. And I like to think of it as, by the friendly universe. I know
Yeah.
Stephen Pressfield in The War of Art calls it muses. And you
Yeah.
had a guest on recently who talked about
Oh,
muses.
yeah. Lefty
Yeah,
Obey talked about all those muses, and that was so gorgeous. Yeah.
yeah.
So tell me more
So
about that feeling of accompaniment, because I really like the way you're saying that.
yeah, I had a real feeling of rightness about what I was working on. And I also could actually feel something kind of propelling me forward. And and there was a real momentum and energy to, yeah, to what I was working on. There was a lot of flow. So I felt accompanied and that was super exciting. And I've kind of used it since then, but that was the first hint of it that I got and I loved it.
That's so cool. Once we find it and tap into it, it is incredible. And I also know there will be people listening who say, I'm not spiritual. I don't believe that there's anything out there, and that couldn't help me. And
Mm,
to them, I say, perhaps try what I did for a long time, which was trust something that I didn't believe in.
mm-hmm.
It's okay to make
Yes.
that choice to trust a fake muse out there, or
Yes.
the loving universe that you don't believe in. Why don't you try trusting it and
Yeah.
doing, half an hour writing and just see what happens? And
It's a great idea.
it can't hurt.
That's
If it's not
no,
out there, it can't hurt. But the two books that I've written accompanied, I love that phrase, um, have been the easiest and most joyful books I've ever written,
mm,
because you just show up and do the work.
yeah,
It's lovely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's like I feel that when we show up, they show up as well
Mhm.
to accompany us and
Mhm.
strengthen and inspire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Queen Nora Roberts says, that the muse always shows up when she sits down to write. It's like 9:30 in the morning. That's just it just shows up to write alongside her. What
Mm,
part of writing do you struggle with the most?
hmm. Well, I struggle with the middle part in between the great idea and the execution. I know I'm probably not alone in this. I feel like this happens especially for me with fiction because I'm not as confident in my fiction voice as I am in my nonfiction voice. So I feel like the critic, jumps in and just tears everything down.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
a bad idea and you're badly executing it as well. So, yeah, if I don't hold on tight, I can really lose the thread. And I'm trying, to remind myself that to play and to experiment and just to have fun. And, I say kind, corny things to myself like, you're doing great.
The corny things work when we say them.
Yeah. Yeah. They do. They actually do. Yep.
Sorry, I'm about a fire alarm in the background. I believe that my wife is handling that. I can also smell food burning, so we're just going to ignore it. And I'll ask you to share with us a craft tip about anything
Mm.
at all.
Yeah, I I I want to share a tip that actually has to do more with getting to your desk and doing the work.
Love
So
that.
I use this thing called the Pomodoro Technique. You can look it up online. It's basically 25-minute timed writing chunks, and I I find for me that it works brilliantly because it feels very manageable that size, and I kind of get that dopamine hit, and uh if you look it up online, they'll say, now make sure you take a break after your 25 minutes and stretch or whatever for 5 minutes and then come back. But I find once I get going, I just press repeat on the timer and I can keep going on. So that works well for me, and I think it might work well for people who struggle with focus and who are distractible, and who's
Yes,
not, right?
yes.
In the world that we live in.
What I love about that too is that you just kind of let me off the hook because I'm such a rule follower in so many ways. It's
Mm,
I annoy myself with it that when the 25-minute goes off, I'm annoyed and then I feel guilty about the 5 minutes I'm not taking off because I often skip it as well. And I just realized
uh-huh.
it absolutely doesn't matter. There are no rules. If I want to skip it, I can. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I'll do a 25 and then I'll skip the 5 and I'll do another 25 and then I'll take 10 or 15 or whatever I want. But
Yeah.
it's this subtle trick, isn't it, of getting us in the chair and saying it's only 25 minutes. Or you can
Yes.
adjust it. It's only 10, it's only 15, whatever
Yes.
that is.
And then the important thing, of course, to remember is that you have to turn off your notifications,
Yes.
right? Like we were talking about before, because
Yes.
if you don't, that will just, they'll leap in and
Mine
distract
are
us.
never on. Mine are never
Yeah.
on. I can't hear notifications or see notifications about anything except my phone will ring for 5 people in the world. But otherwise, my phone is always off. Nothing will flash up, and my computer has all flashies off because I'm too distractible,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it cannot happen.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Good for you.
That's awesome. I love the Pomodoro. If people have not tried that, please look that up. And there's a ton of different apps for free that you can get to
Yeah,
try them.
that's right. Hmm.
Yeah. What about a mindset tip?
Yes. The mindset tip that I'd like to offer is it's about cultivating an alternative to that inner critic voice that we've talked about a little bit.
Oh, please.
Yeah, yeah. I believe that we all have access to a much kinder, more supportive voice inside of us, but we're really not taught that. And if you don't know it's there, you can't access it. So the one of the ways that I connect with that voice inside me is to actually sit down and put pen to paper and write as that voice,
Mm.
and just the wisest, most supportive things are said during those letter writing sessions. So
Do
I
you
find
ask direct questions and then write the answer, or is it an open-ended kind of conversation?
it's a bit of both. It depends on what I need in the moment, but I do often ask questions and then, listen. And I feel that that voice is much quieter than our critic who's often shouting, right?
Mhm.
And and if you listen really keenly, you can hear. And it's just like a muscle, you have to practice doing it, and it's a choice, right? We can
Yeah.
choose which voice to listen to. You can stay, like if you think of it like tuning a dial, you can stay tuned to critic FM all day, or you can change the dial to something kinder and more supportive and something that will actually help us to achieve our writing goals.
Oh, that
So
is beautiful. And now I'm thinking of it in terms of that radio, that some of those bands are so wide, right? They're so popular and they have so much money they can buy the wider band on the radio. Critic is always going to
yes.
be easy to tune in. You can flip your hand and land on it and it's crystal clear. But
Yes.
that quieter inner knowing, the kindness part, you really
Mhm.
have to kind of fiddle with it and be quiet and raise the volume of it manually and listen, and then there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I call it like my inner friend or inner champion.
Yeah.
I mean, you could call it anything you want, really, your inner
I
cheerleader or
I call it
whatever.
all sorts of things. Sometimes it's my
Yeah.
inner writer, sometimes it's my inner friend, sometimes it's the spirit of all life in the universe.
Mm,
And and I was just actually playing with it this morning, and it's something that's gaining more popularity. I don't know if you've noticed this, but in 12 steps groups, it was introduced many years ago in the 30s as it's called two-way prayer. And Elizabeth Gilbert has been talking a lot about doing it lately, which is ask the
mm,
question and then answer the question while listening for the wise part inside you. And
yes.
Elizabeth Gilbert believes it's a higher power, and other people
Mm-hmm.
believe it is their wisest self. And she's been having a lot of conversation about, like, well, which is it? How can you tell? And the real answer is, who cares?
Yeah,
It's it's the right answer, and it's the answer we're dying to hear, and it's the answer that helps, and it's the answer that comes out. And it sounds like
exactly.
you're doing exactly that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love to tell people about that little trick
Yeah,
because, for
yeah,
so many years I feel like I was tuned to Critic FM pretty constantly, and it's it really hinders things,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I think I
So
wake up and the dial has reset to Critic FM. I've got to manually tune it
I
every
know, I
day
hear
away from
you.
that.
Yeah, I think we're all very similar that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of kindnesses, what is the kindest
Hmm.
thing you've ever done for yourself as a writer?
I think it would definitely be taking myself on retreats. I've done that
Tell me
for,
about it. I love
yeah.
doing that.
I think I might have just seen something on Instagram about one of your
I went
latest
on the best
retreats.
one of my life. Yes.
Yeah, it looked
Tell me how you
incredible.
tell me how you started doing it. What got you into it?
Ah, gosh, I don't remember how I started, but I can tell you about one of the first places that I went.
Please.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool place. It's since closed, but it was a monastery, and
Oh,
it was in the
yes.
province next door to ours, so in New Brunswick, and it was run by an order of female monks, and I know it was
That's
incredible.
so cool.
Yeah, and they like it was pretty Spartan, and so therefore it was also inexpensive, which was great.
Yeah.
Uh, but, there was a bed, there was a desk for me to write at, and they fed me. So, what more can you ask for? And there was beautiful nature to walk in, when I wasn't writing. So yeah, it was so inspiring, and I just find with with writing retreats that it gives you more time, obviously, and more space, and it kind of I felt like I could come up above my writing in some way and see it from a different perspective.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
so
it
I highly
allows us
recommend them.
to unhook our brain somehow, and allows us to see in a different just in a different way. I always have revelations on a retreat I know for sure I couldn't have gotten to on
Oh,
my own on a normal Tuesday afternoon. And I love that you said that
yes.
about the retreat monastery, place, because that is still a very reasonable, inexpensive way for people to go. You don't have to be any
Yes.
certain religion, but there are so many places all around the United States and probably around the world where you can go to them and pay a very little amount of money to have basically a cell, one of their
Yes.
cells, and they're going to feed you some food. And please don't talk to them. And there you go.
Yeah,
That's your
exactly.
retreat.
I know, it's pretty
it's
perfect.
it's funny. I've never done one there, but I had a book at one point that had just listings of them all over the country, and I
Mm.
would just read it. And I was too broke back then even to go to one of those, but I think that's such a great idea. Thank you for sharing
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
What is the best book that you read recently, and why did you love it?
Yeah, I recently read a book called Tin Man by Sarah Winman. She's a UK writer,
Mm-hmm.
and I got introduced to her through a friend who had read another one of her novels called Still Life, and that book is set in Florence, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. But Tin Man is this it's a really slender book, but it's super elegant, and it's it's it packs up an emotional punch. It's
Mm.
got two characters, two main characters, and she alternates the point of view. which I love. I love that kind of a book.
Yeah.
And you really get into the minds and hearts of those characters. And a bonus for me was that they were queer characters, because as a queer person, I just love, seeing my life reflected and being able to relate to the stories that are being told. So
That
I
sounds
enjoyed that.
wonderful.
Yeah. And she writes super powerfully about like grief and loss, but it's not heavy. It doesn't break your heart, because she
That
writes
sounds
also with hope.
amazing.
Yeah, it
That
really, she's a beautiful writer.
sounds like my absolute jam. And also, I have a healthy dose of professional and enjoyable envy. No one will ever say that my writing is slender or elegant. I'm over writers for days, and I just admire the slender, elegant,
I
precise
know.
prose that packs
Yeah.
such a wallop. Oh, I can't wait to read it. Speaking of
Good.
reading, can you please tell us about you, your book, how you help writers? Tell us a little bit about everything.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Thank you for asking. So my book is called Writing Your Way, A 40-Day Path of Self-Discovery. And it helps people connect with like their inner wisdom and guidance for creative purposes, for art, for writing. Um, it's a process book, so it's 40 days long, and each day has an essay that's sort of about something to do with the creative process, like fear, or contacting your inner champion or friend, as we were talking about, procrastination. Um, yeah, lots of different topics. And for every day, there's a writing prompt. So you kind of dig into that theme of the day. So
That's lovely. Also, in
thank you.
terms of titles, Writing Your Way is just so good. It's so good. You are writing your way, and you're also writing your way. I bet you were so pleased
I
when
really was.
yeah, good. We can
It
we
was
can
one
have
of
an
those moments.
admiration moment.
Yeah.
Yes, like wow, yes, that is it. That is right. That's lovely. And you also coach, right?
I do. Yeah, I do writing mentoring. So I help people who are who want to write books, or who need like the accountability, the support, the emotional support, also the feedback. And I also do like manuscript review or developmental edits on books that are like a good first draft.
Awesome.
So,
And where
I
could
mean,
people find you if they were interested in working with you?
yeah, they can find me at my website, which is reneehartleib.com. And I'll spell it for you if you'd like.
Please do.
It's okay, it's ReneeHartleib, as in Bravo. So
Perfect. Perfect.
reneehartleib.com. Yeah. And I'm also on Instagram at Renee Hartleib.
Perfect. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for being on the show. It's been such a treat to talk to you.
Oh gosh, thank you so much. It's been lovely talking to you as well. I really
And seriously,
appreciate the
tell your
chance.
daughter if she needs anything, reach
Ah,
out. I'm here. It's a very small
that's so
country.
that's so kind. She's really loving it.
Good. Thank
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
Renee.
Thank you, Rachel, so much.